Hey everyone, so this video is just an introduction to the zero product property. We'll talk about it a lot more in class over the next couple of days, but the property basically says that if the product of two quantities is zero, meaning if you multiply two numbers or two values or two variables together and the product is zero, then one of those quantities or more equals zero. Okay, so if the product of two quantities, and it can be a polynomial, it could be two variables. If you're multiplying two things together and the result is zero, then one of them must be zero, at least one of them. So in algebra terms, if A and B are expressions, and AB, which is A times B, equals zero, then A equals zero or B equals zero. So at least one of them has to equal zero. So using this example here, we have x plus 5 and x plus 2. Well, I'm multiplying x plus 5 by x plus 2, and the result is 0. So that means that either x plus 5 equals 0 or x plus 2 equals 0. Okay, and both of them could be equal to 0, but it means that one of them has to be equal to 0. And so that means if I simplify this more and find x, right, if I subtract 5 on both sides, it gives me x is negative 5, and then if I have the x plus 2 equals 0, and I subtract the 2, I get x is negative 2. So that means that x is either negative 5 or negative 2. Okay, it means if I substitute negative 5 into this equation, it will give me 0. If I substitute negative 2 into the equation, it will also give me 0. Okay, so the steps are here. You're going to set your expression equal to 0. So no matter what it is, you'll set the initial expression equal to 0. You will factor that expression. You will set each factor, which means each set of parentheses, equal to 0, which we did here. And then you'll solve for the variable in both cases. Okay, so I'm going to look at number 1 from your worksheet. Okay, and so you're going to factor as normal, right? A is 1, so you're going to find the factors of 24. So I have 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, and 4 and 6, and find the pair that's going to give me negative 2, which is 4 and 6. C is negative, so my signs are either are different. So either 4 is positive and 6 is negative, or 4 is negative and 6 is positive. And so this gives me a negative 2, and this gives me a positive 2. We want the negative, so we're going to take this first pair. So I'm going to factor. I'm going to write my initial equation first, or my initial expression, x squared minus 2x minus 24. And my first step says, well, set it equal to 0. So we should have done that first. Then I'm going to factor completely, which means I'm going to replace this with its factored form, which according to here is x plus 4 and x minus 6. Right? And because the first line equals 0, the second line will also equal 0. And now I have the product of two polynomials. The result is 0. So according to our rule up here, one of these has to be 0. So I'm going to find each value that would make it equal to 0. So I'm going to set both equal to 0. Okay? And so this gives me negative 4, and this gives me 6. And so these values, x is negative 4 and x is 6, those are called your zeros or your roots. They are the values that when you substitute them into this original expression, it will give you a result of 0. Okay, so they're called your zeros, your roots. They can also be found on your graph, which we will look at some more in class. So that means if these are my zeros and my roots, it means my graph will cross my x-axis at negative 4 and 6. And so my graph will look something like this.